Trucks have been the same for a very long time. We want to try something different. So I present to you the Cybertruck.
So a little over 4 years ago, I sat at Hawthorne as Tesla rolled the Cybertruck onto the stage to a collective gasp. I don't think there was a single person in that audience outside of Tesla that expected it to look like what we actually saw. And what's surprising, 4.5 years later, this is an actual truck, a real product that you can buy. Everybody thinks they know something about the Cybertruck, and everybody has an opinion on it. Here's mine. We got to start with design, because without the way this looks, the Cybertruck is just like a truck. So looking at this too, you probably noticed this is not the steel look you find on most Cybertrucks. This has a wrap on it. It almost looks like a matte black metal. To my eye, this wrap looks so much better than the actual metal look. And there's a lot of opinions about this, but let me walk you through everything that's here. I do want to give a big shout out to my buddy Eric, who let us take a look at his truck. You should check him out at butter_EV. We'll put a link also down in the description. All right, so first, the light bar is about as iconic as the design itself. This is actually not your headlights. This is your daytime running lights. Your headlights are actually down here. Also down here, in a first for Tesla, front-facing camera. We don't have a bird's eye view. Tesla's still relying on vision for that. It's also the first Tesla with a powered frunk. And I'd forgive you if you thought this was going to have a mammoth power frunk similar to what we've got in the F-150 Lightning. It is definitely a much smaller front truck, I think what a lot of people are expecting, but you do get really easy access to it. So coming around the truck here, aside from the light bar, you really notice this gigantic wiper. It is about 3 times the size of a normal wiper. I was able to talk to the owner a bit. We just had big torrential rains here in Southern California. And he said the wiper worked really well, but it stopped about midway through. It doesn't come all the way down. So aside from the big wiper, you're gonna notice the wheels. So these are 20-inch wheels. When the Cybertruck started shipping, they were shipping with these caps over the rims. They've since been removed with some issues with the tires wearing down. Coming around the side of the car, a lot of it is sort of familiar Tesla in a very unfamiliar look. So you've got the same camera array you had before vision-only cars. So obviously you can use your phone as a key. You get a key card as well. There are no handles here. What we have is a button. Give it a push, it opens up a bit, and you can grab it and open the door all the way up. And to give it a close, a little bit of a soft close action there too. And then you get to the actual truck part of the Cybertruck. So let's start with the tonneau cover. This is a really good design and is incredibly quick. It does have one giant flaw, I think though. I don't know if you saw how it went down, but it goes down on that back glass window, which means when the tonneau cover is covered, you're not gonna be able to use your very tiny rear view mirror. Instead, you have to rely on a camera. Not a camera inside the mirror like we see it in some cars, but actually a camera view that shows up on the center display. And you've got a full-size truck bed. This is a 6x4 truck bed, so it is extremely large. One thing about if you've had trucks or familiar with trucks, oftentimes you want to reach into the bed to grab something. I'm like 5'9", 5'10" on a good day. This is at its lowest settings. I would have a real hard time reaching in and grabbing something at its lowest part. If I want to get something at its highest part, there's no chance. Something to kind of bear in mind. Tailgate here, it's dampered down, but it is not powered up. So you don't have an air compressor back here. What you do have though is a lot of power. You got two 120s and a 240. You got hooks for tying things down. You have a pretty nice rail system too. And in all fairness, you can reach the rail system from the top, which is nice. So you can sort of adjust that if you wanted to tie things down. Again, not powered here, but it goes up incredibly easily. And then you're at the back of the Cybertruck. It's a load bearing step. You could step in if you want. And rear view camera. So coming around the passenger side, one thing that I did want to show is the passenger door. Tesla always does doors different. If you open this thing up, it opens up 90 degrees. So So a couple other things about the Cybertruck, the glass on it, and there's a lot of it, it's armored glass. So you might think it's gonna stop bullets, it's not gonna do that, but it will make it more resistant to sort of rocks that might come up, but more importantly, it's gonna make for a quieter cabin, which is pretty nice. And should you wanna do truck things with your Cybertruck, like towing, you can tow up to 11,000 pounds. There's different tiers of Cybertrucks that are eventually going to be shipping. The most beastly version you can get will be the Cyber Beast version and get you 0 to 60 in 2.6 seconds for a truck that's 7,000 pounds-ish. It's kind of defying the laws of physics. Obviously, something like this, range is going to matter. So the long-range version will be the best range you can get. Tesla says 340. Now, they're known to over-exaggerate their actual range, but they will be happy to sell you for about $16,000 not out yet, a range extender. It will take up a significant portion of your truck bed, but it will push your range close to 500 miles, around 470-ish, although no one's actually seen it or tested it though, so we don't quite know yet. So before we hop into the inside, I do want to talk about build quality because there's been a lot of comments about it. I've had a chance to look it over and I have talked to the owner. And again, Vin here is in the mid 500s, so it's an early build Cybertruck. Obviously it is wrapped. He said his did deliver with rust on it, which was I think a little bit on the alarming side. Actually, it was added to the due bill. He'd get a new panel for one of the doors that had so much rust on it, but obviously it was covered and not an issue here. The only thing that I can see from a panel situation is if you look straight at the truck, you can see that there's some gaps here and here where the doors are. Nothing egregious and nothing too giant. But if you come around to the other side of the truck, and this is something that the owner pointed out to me, you can actually see on the trim, that's not just a water sport, that's actually some discoloration in the trim itself, and that was there at delivery. So you can see inside here, this is obviously what it looks like before the wrap. You can see some of that rust right there. Now, in all fairness, that should wipe right out pretty quickly. It's nothing, crazy, but you should be aware of it on a stainless steel truck. Also, right now we're out filming in Southern California. It's about 75 degrees and the truck is extremely warm. So in an area where you need to rely on touching it to open the car, it could be hot. Although back here, it's covered and not metal, so it doesn't get too hot. A lot of concerns about how that was going to be, but the part of the truck that's in the sun, super hot. So as new as everything is on the outside, it is equally new and different inside. Starting with the center display here. So it's the biggest Tesla's ever put in their car. It's actually 1.5 inches bigger than the 17-inch screen you've got in the new S and the X, which means 18.5 inches. One thing it doesn't do, it doesn't articulate like you get in the S and the X, but it is larger. Everything else here is completely new. You'll notice a lot of things that are different. One thing you're not going to notice is any actual Tesla logos anywhere inside or outside. It is all Cybertruck and Cyber themed here. Center screen is obviously where everything is going to happen. I do find it kind of interesting that Tesla didn't put a screen in front of the driver. Again, like you got on the S and the X, but sort of more 3 or Y here, just supercharged up. I don't know what you would call this, but the Squircle is new here. This is how you're going to control the new steer-by-wire, and I'll talk a lot about that when we do the driving. You do actually have a honky horn, which is awesome, a button to get to cameras. These are actually buttons that physically click. Other new things here, wireless chargers are all new here as well, so you can go ahead and drop things in, and they'll charge, and they are big and deep. I will charge anything. Cup holders here and here. Big storage with more space inside. In typical Tesla fashion, you've got a big open space here. I'm sure there'll be a ton of accessories to put things in, but it is nice and open. Glove box, a weird thing to talk about. That is also all new here. It's kind of a tray, and it's powered, so it slides out, and it'll go ahead and slide back. You also have ambient lighting here, which is really nice. The new Model 3 got it as well, but you can control all the lights around it. All right, so let's take a look at the back seat. So I'm sitting behind in my seating position here at 5'9", 5'10". I've got a ton of room. So these seats will fold back like you get in a lot of trucks for more storage, but you also have all this space underneath here. You could throw backpack under there. There's a ton of space. And you also have kind of airplane style seating where you could put things underneath the passenger and the driver's seat. We saw that too in the Model Y. You also have the screen back here to control your AC, or watch movies on. But this would be a real comfortable spot, I think, for 5 people, even in the middle, without any issues at all. And for parents who are wondering, we actually have 3 sets of latches down here too. So you could put a car seat with the latch system on any, which is a really nice thing for Tesla to do. Also, these are not recessed flat, so easier to buckle in booster seats if that matters to you. Steering wheel is not the only driving thing that's different about the car. This is actually using a drive-by-wire, something that's called a steer-by-wire. Essentially what that means is there's no actual physical connection between the steering wheel and the tires. In pretty much every other car and every other Tesla, there's some connection. It's either a cable or it's hydraulics. That's not happening here. It's all controlled electronically, so you don't have to kind of do the over-the-top turn all the time. The car is smart enough to know what you want. And you can see even right here, as I'm turning the wheels are only turning kind of just a little bit instead of a lot, or sometimes, depending on what you're doing, may not even turn at all. This is my first time turning this car on and behind the wheel. We've got the tonneau cover closed, so the first thing that I noticed is the rear view up here. That's weird. I imagine you get used to it like anything else, but definitely something different. So, it doesn't drive already. Oh, even the Zero was all cyber themed. That was cool. All right, everything's cyber themed here. Oh, that is different. You can feel the steer-by-wire already. Anybody who's driven an S or an X with a yoke, you got to really kind of overturn. But even here, you can, just in a parking lot, you can feel it. I think that and the rear wheel steering. This thing turns way better than something this large has any business steering. Well, it's like a pretty comfortable drive. Like, on the Cybertruck, I'm coming away like relatively impressed. So I asked Eric, the owner, about the drive-by-wire and what he thought about it. And he asked me, he's like, the first thing people notice when they drive a EV is regenerative braking, like the one pedal driving. It's different and it takes a little while to get used to. He said this is like the same thing. Like, takes a little bit, you get used to it, and then it's kind of hard to go back to driving anything else. I think I can kind of already start to appreciate that, even on this roundabout. Like, look how much the wheel is moving. Yeah, it feels really good. Even just like slight acceleration. Well, very nice. One thing I do notice though, it's kind of hard to find a weird place to hold the steering wheel, or the squircle, whatever you want to call it. Like finding the right way to, like, maybe here as the most comfortable way. But I think like a lot of things with this truck, just takes time to get used to. I feel driving this same way I felt when I drove the Hummer. Like, nothing this big should go that fast. I mean, 0 to 60 in like 2.6 on the fastest level is unbelievable. So coming up on a turn, see how it does. Heeled here. So there's like a lot of police officers right there. So we're gonna go. But there's like 4 cops. Hi, police officers. This is not as bad as I expected that to be. You just like read about it or see a picture and you're like, that is going to be garbage. I'd prefer if the mirror just worked like a normal mirror, or even like you see in a lot of other cars where this is a digital display. But this is actually totally fine. I think the field of view here too is even wider than it would be in the mirror, so like less blind spotty. The shape of the side mirrors though, which I should mention also are removable, is weird. They're like pretty sharp triangles, I guess, like the truck itself. So for something like this big, made of steel, I think you'd expect a lot of cabin noise, but because of the glass around it, it is surprisingly quiet here. Now, I'm not on a freeway or anything, but just in normal driving, it is really quiet. Also, it's surprisingly smooth too. I imagine due to the air suspension. That's adaptive air suspension, so as it goes over things, you don't feel it like you would if it was just coils only. Tesla got a lot of experience with air suspension. The S&X had it for years, and they did a really nice job, I think, with this here as well. Honestly, I'm impressed with the drive. I expected it to drive like a boat. It did not drive like a boat. I do want to test what a U-turn would look like in it, see how tight the turn radius is, but the drive-by-wire system became really intuitive, really fast, and it handles really well. But this is big. In my Rivian, it would be tight to try to make a U-turn here, but let's try it in the Cybertruck. Oh, rear wheel steering! I mean, we cleared that by a lot. That was pretty impressive. All right, Cybertruck. Tesla sells a ton of accessories for the Cybertruck too, so you can check those out. And also being a newer Tesla, a lot of the software features aren't here yet, especially on full self-driving, but that'll come over time with future software updates. So pricing is a bit complicated on the Cybertruck. The ones that you'll see on the road, at least initially, so they're all Foundation Series. There's a dual motor Foundation Series, which will be about $100,000, or the Cyberbeast Foundation Series, which will be $120,000. Once that ends, here's what the pricing is. But with Teslas, check their website, because these things change like on a minutely basis. Rear-wheel drive should start just under $61,000. That's coming in 2025. All-wheel drive starts around $80,000, and then the Cyber Beast comes in just $10 under $100,000 at $99,990. If it's Foundation Series, it's about an extra $20,000. With that, though, you do get like all the accessories. Full self-driving is on board, light bars on board, power share, so you can use this to power other things. You get sort of everything that Tesla offers from an accessory standpoint, except the range extender. So I'm gonna be honest, I came into this, I think, with a lot of preconceived notions, and some of them I think relatively negative about the Cybertruck. How it was gonna drive, how it looked, how big and sort of crazy looking the design is. And I think a lot of people are gonna come into this with preconceived notions. Either they love it, they hate it, and it's gonna be hard to change minds. I will say, after spending some time with the Cybertruck, a lot of those preconceived thoughts that I had have kind of gone away. This drives extremely well. The visibility, surprisingly good. And I think who this would be for, if you live and die by a truck, if you tow, if you haul, this is probably not gonna be the truck for you. But if you want a car that can carry a lot of people, can carry a lot of things, it can also do some truck things as well, Cybertruck's a pretty good way to go. I was really impressed with how well it drove. I was impressed with the visibility. The looks have even started to grow on me a little bit. Certainly expensive for what you were getting. The cold rolled steel is a cool way to do things. I have concerns over long time durability and rust if you choose not to wrap it. But overall, I came away much more impressed with the Cybertruck than I expected. I have no idea if this is a right car for you or your family, but if you decide that it is, and it fits your budget, I think you're gonna get a truck that's going to be incredibly surprising.